Hi, everybody. Justin McDonald here from talkcastPDX. Welcome to DTPDX Live. We're at Dante's in downtown Portland. We're in the Limbo room on the Limbo stage. And it is probably the smallest stage I've ever... It's a pretty small stage. Let's just put it that way. We're cozy. And we come to you live every week. We were on Mondays for a while. We're back to Wednesdays, and we're actually glad to be back on Wednesday. Makes things a little easier logistically to just get around and do stuff. So thank you so much for joining us. I am Justin McDonald with TalkCastPDX, and we have a different guest every week. And this week we have the Mad Marquis.
Thank you for having me.
And one of the best mustaches around, I got to tell you right now. Look at that. That thing's a work of art. It's a beauty. Tell folks a little bit about what you do before we kind of jump in and start really getting into meat and
Sure.
finding out the truth.
Oh, so many truths. So I'm like a cabaret and burlesque MC and host and producer. So you can regularly see me here on Sundays for Dante's Inferno.
Oh, great.
And I'll be here this Sunday, for example. I'm often here once or twice a month because there's more than one host for that show.
And, if people don't know what Inferno is, I talk about it and stuff. Describe what it is. It's kind of... Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you do it.
Sure. Sinferno is I would call it like sort of a circus cabaret. Like I think that's a fair description of what it is, because we have aerial performers, trapeze, lyra, fire dancing, striptease, pole dancing.
Wow.
Some real
all in one show.
Juggling, yeah, all the things. Singing sometimes, depending on the performer. We've had some very good singers at Dante's.
So you come to Portland, it's cool and all to come for donuts and beer or whatever, but you got to come for the Inferno Cabaret at Dante's. It's world famous.
It is. It's been going for, I think it is now old enough to drink. It is going to be it's 21 this year.
Since it's 22 years, Dante's has been around, right?
Right, and it started in 2001. Like, I believe, right, not to be like morbid about it, but I think it started like the same month as 9/11. Like, I think it started in September of 2001.
That's a pretty good fraternity to be in, though, like being performers and stuff. I mean, I'm sure the list is kind of long. I love the people that have performed, but if you can say, hey, I performed at Inferno. Yeah,
there's that. I mean, over 21 years, I wouldn't even be prepared to guess how many total different people have performed at that show. The current sort of array of people who regularly participate is probably over 150, maybe as many as 200, depending on how much you want to count as regular. And then you count, and we get traveling performers and special guests all the time on top of that. So
yeah. So you have special guest performers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, just an example. Is it ever like an adult film star?
Sometimes.
Or anything like
Sometimes.
that?
I mean, first off, this is Portland. We're pretty pro-porn here, right?
Pro-porn.
It's not like there aren't some adult film stars from right out of this town that we might have on the stage.
Well, there's a lot. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of porn produced here.
It is. We have very friendly laws in that regard.
Yes, we do.
So there have definitely been people who have who that's their primary occupation. I would struggle to conjure a name off the top of my head, not being prepared in advance for this question. Okay. But yeah, there's definitely been some people who have done like hardcore pornography who've been on this Inferno stage, and then a lot of variations on softer stuff too. Like I know Masumi Max did the show, and she might be the most famous person I'm aware of off the top of my head. Okay. And she's a fetish model out of LA.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with her.
Yeah.
That's not my kink, but definitely when you say it with that kind of passion, I know that it's somebody who
Yeah, I mean, she probably has 100,000 Instagram followers or something, right? Way more than me.
She's got some influence. Now we call them nowadays influencers, right. Not celebrities. They're influencers. So Inferno Cabaret, for those who don't know, is Sunday nights, 10 o'clock.
Yep.
Tickets are $10 up to what?
No, it's I think it's 20 now.
20 now?
It's $20. It is also available on live stream pretty regularly if people want to
turn
view
into
it
a Greek
remotely
bar
from
for
wherever.
a second. Turn into a Greek bar for a second.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah, no worries. So Sundays at 10 o'clock. Normally they're live streamed by a permanent video installation we do now that got set up during the pandemic.
Okay.
And so people can watch it from home if they're not local to here as well, or if they just don't feel like seeing people on a Sunday night in person, which I empathize with.
Yeah, I mean, as awesome as all the live streaming technology and stuff's improved, it's still great to come out, get out here into the jungle, if you will, of Portland, and I notice people are back out.
Yeah. I have to admit, I'm not super surprised how quickly like the nightlife scene came back, because I kept joking that it was just going to be like every time there's like snow for 3 days in Portland and everybody goes crazy the first day they're let out of their house. And
Yeah.
this is obviously much longer than that.
Just pull over to the side of the road and don't move. Just park your car, get out and go. So tell me a little bit about how the Mad Marquis became the Mad Marquis. What is your background? Are you from Portland?
Sure. I went to high school in the suburbs here, and then college in Denver, and then came back to Portland.
What burbs did you happen to?
I went to Westland High School, so just south of town. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then you took off from here and you went to college.
Yep. Well, I took a couple of years off and like was a computer nerd for a while. It was the .com boom because I'm old.
Yeah, me too. I'm 50, and I mean, I remember the .com boom. I was involved in it, so I'm a little more cautious with my things nowadays.
Yeah, so I went to college in 2001 down in Denver, and came back in 2004. Okay. And I'd studied. I'd been interested in theater in high school. Did some theater in high school and acting, and then. Did a little bit of that, like casually, after I moved back here. I did even more in college, and then I did a bit more after I moved back here. But then I sort of let it sort of like got distracted with real life and like jobs and just being hanging out, all this stuff. And then I got into burlesque and cabaret specifically back in 2010. My now ex-wife, who was my wife at the time, because that's how that works. She randomly decided she wanted to take some burlesque classes from somebody who was teaching burlesque, and so she signed up for some classes and started doing that. And because I had a theater background, I was like, "Oh, this seems neat." And
you're like, "Oh, I gotta."
And then because of her starting to do burlesque, then we ended up producing some shows together. Our very first burlesque show was an all nerd themed show called Geeklesque that we still produce erratically.
What was it again?
Geeklesque.
Geeklesque.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the first one of those was actually performed live at one of the game stores, like D&D and Warhammer and all that stuff.
Yeah.
At the old Guardian Games, not the big location they have now, but the much smaller location they used to have.
Where's the much smaller location?
So the small location that we performed in was right over right behind the Office Depot on MLK.
Okay.
Or on MLK.
I know.
And right next to that dance club that I forget the name of right now. I can't remember it.
Damn.
And now they're up on MLK and Grand, in between them, next to the Rhoda Paint place, just a block south of the Morrison. Okay. And that place is probably 8 times the size, to give you a size comparison. But yeah, we did an all nerdy themed burlesque show there. Like, we brought in our own sound system, rented some stages, did it in the game store at like 9:00 on a Saturday night. Because they had a liquor license, so we threw out all the kids and had a good time.
Nerdy burlesque.
Yeah, and which was, I'm a big nerd. I love me some D&D and whatever.
Yeah.
So
we have a great show on. I'm just butt in for a minute. A great show on talkcastPDX. Well, it's not on there yet. They just finished recording their first season called Party Till We Die.
Nice.
And it's going to be great. It should be out next month sometime.
Nice. So that's a D&D
podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and so we did that show. That was my ex-wife and I produced that show together. And we got sort of like immediately outed to like everyone we knew about being like strippers for fun, because we were on the cover of the A&E for that first show, that Friday of the show. And so like I showed up at work. At the time I was working for the Department of Defense, actually.
Department of Defense.
As a computer nerd, right? Like nothing super interesting.
You're like programming or whatever.
And network stuff. Yeah,
network stuff. Okay.
Network security, basically. And I show up for work Monday morning.
He was in charge of the burlesque department.
If only. And I show up for work that Monday morning, and my boss has the A&E with me on it right after the show, and he's like, hee, and I'm like, you jerk. So like there was never any like pretending that wasn't going on in our lives. It was very funny.
That's cool.
At
least you didn't have to like hide it.
Oh no, which was also like good thing, bad thing, but it's like I didn't know that my boss would know about it Monday morning when I showed up for work, right?
Gotcha.
And then and like the Starbucks that I used to go to all the time, they had it like hung up on the wall where they would like put up stuff about their customers. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And they're like, "Do you want to sign it?" I'm like, "You guys are dicks."
So, and then you got to Dante's, and then how did you fall into this one?
So it's frankly, it's like, as somebody who enjoys performing in front of a live audience, right? Like from my theater background, I really enjoy working the stage in front of a live audience. It's just a lot of fun to me. And so we just, you just start doing it more and more, and you get better at it. Now, I'm sure I like to think I'm better now than I was in 2011 when I started, right?
Yeah.
And so these days, like I was doing some back of the napkin math actually the about a month ago about like how many cabaret shows have I hosted? I'm like, my number, oh God, like 500, right?
Ooh,
Yeah,
your
like
brains
hundreds of them, right?
exploding.
Yeah. Because I'm regularly doing one or more shows a week for many years, right? And
great.
we tend to be busiest over like the holiday season. Like I tend to think of like October to Christmas as like peak for live entertainment season in Portland, right? Because people are like, go to this Halloween thing, go to this Christmas thing,
do this, do that.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun.
There's so much to do. So.
There is, and a lot of it is sort of small scale. So like you're not fighting somebody who's going to try and crank through 500,000 people. You're fighting the other 50 events that all want to crank through 1,000 people.
You do a Christmas burlesque show?
Other than the last 2 years. So in 2020, of course, Christmas was canceled.
Yeah.
And in 2021, we were supposed to do the Christmas show again because I've done a show on Christmas Day for years.
Gotcha.
Because I figure it's come out, hang out with your family, now come have fun, right?
Yeah.
And but I actually personally got COVID over Christmas in 2021, so that got canceled this last year, which was a bummer. But then I came out of quarantine just in time to do our New Year's Eve shows, so it was okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've been noticing that happening a lot to my friends lately. Some of them have picked up COVID, even though they've had their all their stuff, but they just chill at home for 5 days, 8 days, or whatever, and then they're golden. Some of them had a little cough and a little sneeze, but nothing major, which is good.
Yeah, my personal experience as somebody who was vaccinated, boosted, yada yada yada, was a cold functionally. But you got to stay home and not get other people sick.
I got vaccinated, kind of late, so I didn't really get the boost.
Sure.
I was already felt like shit after the first two. So
fair enough.
We're not a science show, so we'll skip that stuff.
Yeah.
So you get the Dante's gig, and then that starts up, and you've been here how long?
So I've been hosting at Sinferno only for about 2 years now.
Okay.
Started during the pandemic, actually.
Gotcha.
Although I've worked with so many people who'd worked with Sinferno, I was always sort of floating around the edges, randomly being helpful. And then I first actually worked with the people who are behind Sinferno over at the Star back in 2011, or maybe early 2012. I did a bunch of shows at the Star. Like we did our third, fourth, fifth, etc. Geeklesques at the Star. I think the first one we did there was in association with the Portland Retro Gaming Convention. So it was all video game themed stuff.
Yeah, I am involved with the Retro Gaming Convention, so that's a good time.
Yeah, we did burlesque stuff. We did an associated burlesque show with them for about 4 years in a row, which was a lot of fun. And obviously, video games are super easy to get all strippery and fun about. So, although the Pac-Man one is maybe still my favorite, that was from the first year. But yeah, if people go look at like our Facebook page, which is the production company is Critical Hit Burlesque on Facebook, they can see a bunch of pictures from all those old nerd shows if they're into that. And you can even dig us up on YouTube. I haven't updated my YouTube channel in like 9 years, but there are some videos from those early shows on there.
I have a similar experience. I hadn't looked at my YouTube channel in quite some time. I had a whole 10 new subscribers that I never knew of. I kind of got surprised.
Me too. I went from 15 subscribers to 35 without even noticing.
Let's just run over. I want to just run down a few things happening at Dante's.
Sure.
We got this Friday. This is kind of what we do during the show. We kind of
course,
kind of stuff. Hitting here and hitting there. I guess Raining Sound with the Okamont said that was canceled. And so on Friday night, you have Bury Your Burdens with Still Night, Exanimate, and The Lion and the Sloth. So sounds like a heavy-duty, good time rock show. Tickets $12. It's going down Friday. And then on Saturday, Billy and the Kids with Onion Machine, Titans of Industry, Wild Irie, and Louder Oceans. So another, I think, people coming out, enjoying the times that they can enjoy now. There's some good music, and that's just what's happening here at Dante's. And then of course Sinferno on Sunday.
Yep. And then
are you hosting this weekend?
I'm hosting this Sunday at Sinferno. You can also see me this Saturday night and almost every Saturday night over in the Jack London Review, which is the jazz club under the Rialto.
Yeah. I was gonna kind of talk about what they got going on this week. High Pulp and Jared Mattson. Mattson 2. That's on Thursday. That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you're catching this show late. And it's Friday. You missed the show, by the way, just so you know. And then Madam Golong and the In the Mix 24/7. That's excuse me. I'm sorry. And that's at the Jack London Review. Show at 9 o'clock. Doors open at 8. I believe it's $15.
Yep. And if you go to the music on Saturdays there, you get the burlesque show we do there for free. Because we close out the night Saturday nights after the band. So we go on at about 11:30 once the bands are. The joke I always make on stage there is once the bands are safely put away, we get on stage and get a little naughtier and a little nudier.
I like that. Naughtier and nudier.
Yeah.
That's good. That'd be a good t-shirt.
I'm so bad at merch. I'm like the worst guy at merch.
So Saturday night is Natalie Cressman, and I can't pronounce Ian, I think Faquini's name.
I have no idea. I'll go with that.
So and their show starts at 9, doors open at 8, and you can buy tickets now. And then if you want to check out the Jack London Burley Q review, that sounds like a good time too.
Yeah, if you come just for the Burley Q, it's $20, but you can always go for the bands and get us for free.
Explain to people what the Burley Q review is.
So that's a burlesque show in the jazz club at the Jack London, which is it's a literal underground speakeasy jazz club in a basement, right?
Nice little theme.
Oh, it's a gorgeous space. We do burlesque there. The Burley Q review is typically done with no live music. It's just a canned music. But we also regularly do shows there with live bands with the burlesque as well, which is a lot of fun. The next one of those is coming up in May. We're doing a live band show on May 13th and 14th, which is the Friday and Saturday in May, with the Bridgetown Sextet, joined by Gunhild Carling from San Francisco, who is all I'm going to say about this is she's a phenomenal cabaret singer and musician. But if you've never seen somebody play 3 trumpets at the same time, you don't know what you're in for.
How do you play 3 trumpets at the same time?
One in each hand, and she's balancing the third one straight up in the air like she's a sword swallower, playing all 3 at once. It is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Somebody do.
People in the audience are mouthing, "I know how."
It's pretty crazy. But yeah, she's a special guest vocalist in for us that night, which is why we're doing the 2 shows with the live burlesque and her. And she's people may be most familiar with her because she's performed with Postmodern Jukebox a bunch back in the day.
Gotcha. Let's see. And also at the Star Theater, we like to just hit a couple of events at the Star. Coming up Friday, Princess Goes to the Butterfly Museum. And tickets are that's sold out.
Tickets are gone.
Yeah, sorry. Tickets are not available. So I apologize for even bringing it up because I don't want people to come down.
FOMO.
Jeez, Justin, you tell us about stuff that's, out. Let's see. There is a show tomorrow. It says this one was moved to the Jack London Review. High Pulp and Jared Mattson. I guess that was a show. Then now that's going to be at the Jack London on Thursday. So lots happening. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff happening around downtown and the town in general. But we like to focus on the downtown area because we are DTPDX Live. So for us to start talking about stuff in Gresham.
But what about my East County entertainment?
Hey, come on. Let's get back to just a little bit about Sinferno. How long does it take to prep for this show and get ready? It just seems like a lot to do.
So that's a tricky question.
Yeah.
So I'm going to answer it in several parts. I don't know how many, so I'm not going to say how many parts. The individual performances vary wildly. Like some people are, Leaping Louis Lichtenstein, who is a cowboy clown who does lariat and
Louis Lichtenstein.
Leaping Louis Lichtenstein.
Okay, is he from Liechtenstein? I wonder.
Almost certainly not. But he does a lot of rope tricks and bullwhip tricks and juggling and that kind of stuff. And he's been a professional performer for literal decades, right? So the amount of prep work he does before he goes on stage that night is 2 minutes, right? To make sure he has all his stuff in order. But that's because he's put in 35 years of being good at what he does.
Yeah, he's been Louis Lichtenstein for a long time.
He has performed. I don't want to say how many countries, but it's a number large enough that I can't conveniently remember it.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal performer. He was here last Sunday, and I brought somebody to the show who'd never been before, and her mind was just blown entirely out of her head by him as a performer. She's like, I've never seen anything that cool in my life. And then a lot of the fire dancers are very similar, been performing for many years. So the amount of prep they go before they go on stage is short, but that's because they've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
I'm sort of in the same boat as somebody who's been hosting shows for, 10 years. I just know I know what I'm doing.
The fire stuff is cool.
The fire dancing is very impressive.
I just think that when you're doing that in close proximity, in a nice stage environment, it looks cool.
You can feel it.
Yeah, the heat and the whole thing. You can hear the heat, everything going on.
Well, and
I've known a couple fire breathers in my day, and they're pretty cool.
Yeah, and we have some literal world record holding fire performers in Portland locally. So we get some Spades is a fire performer who just during lockdown and pandemic on the stage here at Dante has actually set 3 world records with the Guinness Book of World Records about fire performing.
Wow, and with Guinness here?
Yeah. This is all official.
Shit,
this is
that's
the real
awesome.
deal.
I had no idea.
Yeah, he did that on like a random like Thursday when everything was closed down like a year ago. Yeah. And so he holds 3 I'm not going to quote because I don't know what the specific world records are, but there's 3 of them. So I don't have to remember what they are.
Yeah.
Because that's the impressive part
is
that there's
3 plaques.
Yeah.
He's got 3 plaques.
And he's a phenomenal fire performer. And he also does these acts where he's got these things that are on fire that are 5 feet long. So you can definitely feel that from halfway across the room when he waves that across the stage. You're like, oh yes, I am now sweating.
Yeah, I used to go to a lot of like the fabulous freak shows and things like that. They had the sword swallowing and all that cool stuff. I just dig that stuff.
Yep.
And people love it. That's maybe that's why burlesque is still so popular.
I mean,
it's showmanship. It's not so much about the dangers of whatever, but
sure,
there's some pretty cool stuff going on, and it's sexy and it's enticing.
Yep.
It's all those things.
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, there's always like the people are like, well, what's the difference between like burlesque and a strip club? And it's like, well, everybody's taking their clothes off, but it's like why they're taking their clothes off that's different. It's like there's not really, I remember once somebody described burlesque versus stripping as burlesque was about the journey and stripping was about the destination.
Okay.
Which I think is a fair answer, if not entirely true. And then here in Portland, of course, a lot of the burlesque performers, their day jobs at a random club in town somewhere too, right?
Yeah.
So, if you like that, and that's true for a lot of the circus performers and cabaret performers in this town, because a job that's at night is very conducive to working at shows.
Sure. So, how creative can you be? I mean, as being one of the producers, I guess. If you're hosting, you're probably doing some producing as well.
Mm-hmm.
How creative? I mean, how hard is it to keep coming up with cool ideas and things for burlesque? I mean, I feel like the themes and stuff. At some point, you're gonna recycle back on something, or I mean, how hard is it?
I think
I'm a creative person, and I know it's hard.
Yeah,
to some degree.
I think there's an advantage with live performance that you're constantly seeing and doing different things for different people.
Yeah.
So, we learn a lot from in live performance, you learn a lot from what the audience reacts to, right? So and you're constantly working because it's all sort of review style. You're constantly working with different other artists and getting to see different people performing all the time. And, we all sort of cross-pollinate and, and then of course, like all other art, we're influenced by the culture at large, right?
Yeah.
So I think that you can argue that there's nothing new under the sun. Fresh voices and fresh faces are always coming into things with their own personal take on those concepts.
Yeah.
So, take the nerdy burlesque, for example. Say you want to do an act as Mario from Super Mario Brothers, right?
Mario.
Right. There have probably been 500 of those, if not 5,000, right? But everyone's going to do it a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
And there's, and I don't think there's any sort of wrong answers to how you do it. It's just, what are you going to do? And what music did you choose to take your clothes off to and be Mario,
Gotcha.
At the very least, those choices are all going to be different.
We had some chats come in.
Sure.
I'm just going to read you one here. This one's from Seth Hicks. It says, I need some hot chick fire dancers for a music video. You think they'd let me fill it there?
I mean, it depends what your budget is. That's always the answer to the question about hiring live entertainers. Like the Joker said, if you're good at something, never do it for free.
Yeah, exactly. Never, ever do it for free.
That said, almost all of us have been in music videos. I feel like every live performer in this town has at some point been in a music video. It's just a very common thing to get hired to do. I mean, there's a bunch of us in the last Modest Mouse video that they filmed out of the Coast Range. I remember that a couple of years ago. And happens all the time. And just last night or just Sunday night when I was at Sinferno, somebody was like, were you in the Dream of the 90s video for, and I'm like, no, but I know literally everyone who's in that video.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm in some random Bon Jovi videos at the Tacoma Dome or something.
Exactly.
I wasn't even there for the concert. I think I was reviewing or something.
Sure.
And I got stuck in a picture crowd, and it's like, oh boy,
Yeah.
And I'll be, I tell you on the Bon Jovi video. I'm like, oh god, the one person I despise. Let's see here. That's the last comment. The rest are not that good. So
Better comments, people.
Better comments. So what's next, Mad Marquis? You're hosting this Sunday.
Yeah, well, this Saturday at the Jack London.
Sorry, it's Jack
this
London.
Sunday here for Inferno Cabaret.
Okay.
And then, the calendar is full of dots.
Anything in the works, like creative-wise, that's a secret? Like a Star Wars burlesque or something?
Oh, well, we did one of those.
That.
We did that in 2017 for the 40th anniversary.
Cool.
So I'm the same age as Star Wars, so I get to make lots of jokes about Star Wars. And we did do a Star Wars burlesque show in 2017 for the 40th anniversary. Nice. That was a lot of fun. Well, and we may do it again, but at the same time, like Disney's making so much Star Wars content, it feels like that topic's kind of covered on a certain level.
Yeah, I could see that.
And the thing is, here it's funny. So Portland is such a nerd town. Like this town loves nerds and nerdy stuff, right? So if you go to Inferno Cabaret or the Jack London Burlesque Review or any burlesque show in town or any cabaret show, there's like flip a coin. There's a 50-50 chance you'll see some nerdy act anyway.
Yeah. I was going to say I would probably get into Star Trek more in a burlesque setting than I would Star Wars.
And I know several people in town who have Star Trek acts. Like it's definitely a thing.
I think I could get into. I could go all day with themes. Probably, there's just some things I don't think would work very good as a burlesque show.
I mean, the only real challenge I think with Star Trek for burlesque is the very limited option of clothes that the characters wear, because it's like all jumpsuits from top to bottom, and that gets old real quick.
You can create your own little pasties with the the signals.
Yeah, we've definitely had that. I have had that on stage with me, so like that's not even a reach. Star Trek is popular enough that definitely it happens all the time.
If someone wants to reach out to you, how do they get a hold of you? Facebook, Instagram,
all of those things. I'm Mad Marquis on Facebook and the Mad Marquis everywhere else, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Not on whatever that weird MAGA social network is. Although I should sign up for it just on principle because it'd be funny.
It'd be fun to sign up on that with a weird name.
I mean, like mine?
Yeah, your name, or just like, something that's really would offend them.
Yeah, and you can reach me via email also at themadmarquis@gmail.com. I am easy to reach. But yeah, if people need burlesque in their life and want to find out where it is, they can message me. If they want to hire me to bring burlesque into their living room, I can do that too.
I think everybody needs a little burlesque in their life. So I think that's
it's made my life better.
The Mad Marquis, thank you so much for coming on DTPDX Live from Dante's. We're here every Wednesday. We start the show around 5:15, depending. We just say that 5:15. We'd like to try to start at 5. But we've had some hiccups in the past.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a total pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, we'll have you on again. We'll do a little update.
For sure.
I'd like to have some performers. Maybe have you in the studio, too. I'll get some performers. Maybe.
Yeah, it's possible.
Cool. Excellent. All right, folks. Check out Inferno Cabaret here at Dante's on Sunday. And then the one at Jack London Review is the
Jack London Burley Q Review is the name of the show.
Review.
Yeah.
I almost said Burley Game. I don't know what I was thinking.
The Berlin Game Fred Meyer, where we bring you all the burlesque.
It's going to be awesome. Right up by
# not sponsored by Fred Meyer.
Yeah, right up by the melons and the pumpkins. That's where it'll be. We'll have a good time. So make sure you tune in next week. We'll be here on Wednesday. Even come down and have a cocktail. Hang out with us here in the Limbo Lounge. We'll be on the Limbo stage. It is DTPDX Live. Excuse me. Go to Dante'sLive.com. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, if any of your listeners want to come down to any of our shows at the Jack London Burley Q Review, I have the ability and the authority to offer them a discount, which I could give them right now. If they want to say that they heard about that show on this podcast, they can get in for only $5 instead of $20.
Ooh, you hear that? $5 instead of $20. And that's going down on
most Saturday nights at the Jack London Review. So this Saturday, we are actually not there on the 2nd of April because there's a private event that's taken over the space. But most Saturdays, always just check the Jack London Review website and you can double check that we're there. Or again, you can always feel free to message me and be like, hey, you got a show, jerk?
So make sure you get out there. You heard it. You can get a nice little discount just for saying that you were listening to the DTPDX Live podcast. So,
Yep.
Awesome. Mad Marquis, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
And that's going to be it for us. So I'm going to say goodbye. Make sure you check out talkcastPDX.com. That's where all the past episodes are. Current episode will be there as well. We thank you so much for hanging out with us. And until next time, just keep on keeping on, folks. That's all you can do.